Hey guys, it's cbgray coming to you with another video today, and today I have my really good friend here. Who do we have?
Got Sweatcicle, man.
Because we have an amazing player and raider. He's a really good friend of mine, and I really appreciate him coming and helping me rank all of the raids today. We're going to be putting every single raid in a tier list that we have, and we're going to try not to talk for 30 hours this time. This is our second attempt at this, and last time we rambled on a lot.
It was a juicy convo.
It was.
Juicy.
It really was. So maybe in the future, maybe CB Sweat podcast. Who knows? Maybe we'll see. But so we're going to be ranking every raid chronologically. If you guys do enjoy this, let me know in the comments and let me know what you guys think about all of the raids and how you guys would rank them, and let us know your opinions because we really would like to hear them. And if you have any opinion that's not ours, obviously that was a natural thing. We all have different opinions. Don't get mad at us for what we think. So
And he will also leave the tier maker link in the description if you want to do this yourself.
Good call. Exactly. So we're going to be taking this chronologically. So we're going to be starting off with Vault of Glass and Atheon. Do you want to go ahead and kick us off on what you think about this raid and where you would place it?
Well, I know this one's near and dear to a lot of people because it is the first raid that did come out when
baby.
Destiny launched, 2014. This had a lot of good, great aspects about it, honestly. There wasn't really many parts that were too stale. My favorite part about it, honestly, was probably the Templar encounter, just because of the use of the relic making you move around the entire arena to take down the boss rather than being stationary the entire fight when you do damage, like standing on plates, that kind of stuff. So
No, yeah, I definitely
I thought it was
hear
a
you on
very
that.
good start to the raid series.
And I liked how what they did with the relic is they kind of introduced it with the Templar encounter, and then it became a reoccurring theme with the encounter before Atheon, and then ultimately when we took out Atheon as well. And I think that was really something that they continue to do in all the raids in Destiny 1 and Destiny 2, where they kind of teach you a concept early, and then kind of at the end of a raid, you kind of master it, perfect it, and then you use it to beat whoever you're trying to beat. I've always appreciated that.
The baby steps mechanic.
Exactly.
As I like to call it.
Yeah, and for me, just like you said, Vault was also near and dear to me. It's my baby. One of my favorites personally, just because of, I feel like the mysterious aspect of it just felt like you could get so lost in the Vault. There was so much to explore. The lore was juicy. Weapons were great. Everything about it, I really loved about Vault. So if you had to put it somewhere, where do you think you'd put it?
Very solid raid. No really downsides to it. I honestly probably... I'm not going to put it in the S slot, but I'll give it an A, just because
My
very
heart.
solid start.
Oh, my heart. All right, so you're going to put in the A. For me, just because, one of my favorite characters in the whole Destiny lore is Praedyth anyways, because it was just such a new, fresh journey, because I feel like it set the standard for a lot of other raids in Destiny in general. I think I'm going to put in the S, just because for me, it's my baby. I love it, and I feel like I'd be betraying it if I didn't put it there. But I understand also putting in the A. Overall, I think we can both agree that it's an amazing raid, and something that I feel like really set the standard for what was to come with the rest of the raids in Destiny.
Absolutely.
All right, so now let's go ahead and transition on to the next raid that I think is another one that's probably near and dear to a lot of people in the community as well, with Kuroda. This is one where I think that if we had raid layers as a known term in Destiny 1, this could have maybe been considered a layer, as it didn't have as much, let's just say, meat as some of the other raids had. But let's talk about some of the positives of Kuroda. I really did like the beginning, dropping down and going through the lamps. I thought was a super cool way to start the raid. It was super mysterious.
It fit the vibe for sure.
It did. Agreed.
Especially the trailer. They go down to the depths of the darkness and
Yeah,
take down Kuroda.
exactly. So I love the way it started. I do wish there might have been a couple more bosses. I mean, really, with Vault, it was still just Templar and Atheon, so it's not like it downgraded. There was still the Death Singer and Kuroda. I just think that a lot of people wanted a little bit more from the Death Singer than just a annoying screaming witch. That was pretty not hard to kill. So overall, I think it was still a good raid. If we talk about the final boss mechanic too with Kuroda, I feel like one of the things that was lacking with it was it felt like there was a lot of standing around if you weren't the sword, which I feel like the most important person in the raid was Sword. And if you weren't Sword, there was a lot of just, okay, let me stand and just wait to Galahorn Kuroda and then run back in the room and kind of stand around for a little bit. What'd you think of that final encounter?
I kind of think of it kind of like a protect the president type of thing because you had to clear the ads for them as well. Like you said, there is standing around, but I think it serves a little bit more of a purpose rather than like other encounters where you literally are just standing around doing nothing.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, again, it is something that's very near and dear to a lot of people. In terms of like a first completion, having to have that level 31 sword bearer to actually complete it kind of sucked. But in terms of replayability, absolutely fantastic. People loved Kuroda.
That's true, and being able to solo it was a lot of fun too. Definitely a great memory to do that for the first time. So ranking this one is tough for me because personally I love this raid, but I know there's some other ones that are definitely better than it in terms of just everything that is within Kuroda and then everything that's within some of the others. So it's hard for me to put it super high up besides just on a nostalgia standpoint. So I think I'm gonna put it in the C. I guess C for Kuroda. Even though it's a lot of fun, I love it. Man, I feel bad putting it there, but for now, I think that's where I'm going to put it. What are you thinking?
For me personally, like I said, the first experience really has a big impact on me personally and what I think about a raid.
Yeah.
Forcing to have the level 31 kind of sucked, but in terms of replayability, it was great. Which I want to put it in the A slot, but I'm going to put it down to the B slot just because of the amount of cheese that was in there, and again,
that's true too.
Meat.
Yeah, and we didn't even get to talk about the cheese of the bridge too, and being able to skip the bridge part did take away almost the whole encounter as well. There was a lot of cheesing going on in this raid. Weapons were top tier though. Did enjoy the weapons.
Oh, absolutely, man. This is where the whole, what was it, the Black Hammer?
Black Hammer was born. I love Black Hammer. I was doing it over and over trying to get my crux. As well as I loved Word of Kuroda too, and then Glow Woo. What a great raid! But all right, so for now we got it ranked. Let's go ahead and move on then to another fan favorite, another big one. I'll let you kick us off on King's Fall. A lot of people's favorite raid.
King's Fall dropped with Taking King back. I don't even know the date honestly, but this is a big juicy raid, man. This is the longest one we had seen at that point.
It was.
Had multiple different bosses. You had War Priest, you had Golgrath, you had Sisters if you count those, and then you had Oryx, which was a lot to take on.
It was the most we'd ever seen before.
Yeah, then you had the jumping puzzle and the totems on top of that. It was a marathon, honestly.
So let's start off with totems. What do you think about totems? I kind of know personally kind of your opinion on this, but talk about like what I guess your reservations about like that part of the raid was.
Well, I'm not a big fan of the whole plates idea. I guess this is like kind of where that started.
Yeah.
To be reoccurring at least. It's a lot of standing around and just shooting. It's not like Kuroda where you're protecting anything. You're literally just shooting stuff, going to middle, standing, going back down bottom, standing, and until it's done. Honestly, just staying alive.
Yes, this kind of was where I guess that whole idea of if you're just standing around not really accomplishing much, there's no real place for something in the raid. So I just wanted to quickly touch on that. But then going on to War Priest, what'd you think of War Priest?
Oh, fantastic, dude. I don't even know how to put into words like why I like that fight. But
yeah.
A lot of people do. Like, I don't know, just seeing that big guy up on a little stage and him being able to destroy you wherever you are is like, I don't know, it's really cool.
Yeah, I like the whole idea of being able to have a call out person to call out and really determine the order of when people are jumping on plates and just add that extra layer of communication, which kind of can transition us into the whole Golgoroth thing as well, which I think in theory when people were doing it the correct way was one of Bungie's best encounters they've ever done, especially at that point in time. Like, I really liked the whole back and forth, keep grabbing his gaze, keep dropping different puddles. I thought that was a really, really clever thing at the time and something that we'd never seen before. And And then
Lots of team chemistry definitely required at that point. For sure.
yeah. And then transitioning over to Sisters, it goes back to that same reoccurring thing of let me show everybody in the game how to do what they're supposed to do before they actually do it with Oryx. And with that, I mean like running. I love how they continue to set the standard for let me show the player kind of what they're going to be doing before they actually need to implement it and beat the boss with that certain mechanic. And I loved the running mechanic of Oryx. I thought it was really cool.
Oh, dude, it was super cool being able to float way up in the air, and you're like, you feel really important. Like if I screw up this one job, it's over. You know?
Yeah.
There's a lot of responsibility on your back for sure.
No, agreed. And just overall with just all of what came with Oryx, with the Sisters, with War Priest, with the jumping puzzle. We didn't even get to mention that, but with the ships, I thought was really cool as well. Just that extra layer of exploration within the whole raid. I thought the Oryx encounter was really fun as well. I think that it also was extra difficult at the beginning because we didn't know about the challenge mode strat. So everybody was doing it where we were exploding bombs every single time. So it did feel very fluid where we were always moving around somewhere. Then you were getting teleported inside the shade. It just felt like a lot was going on the whole raid. So overall, I really loved Oryx. Oryx is one of my favorite raids ever. I mean, it's right up there with Vault for me.
Dude?
Yeah. I gotta put it at the S. Also, I feel like just because this is, I feel like in my opinion, in a lot of people's opinion, the GOAT raid. I just think that this was one that at the time, not only was it really fun, did it have a lot to it, but it just, I feel like once again really set the standard for what Bungie can do and really what a Destiny raid can mean when fully executed perfectly. So I think I'm also going to put it into S. I think I'm going to... So for nostalgia reasons, I like Vault of Glass better than any raid ever. But for just a raid from start to finish, I think I'm going to place King's Fall ahead of Vault of Glass just because of everything that it had going for it. And just... I don't know, the layer of communication complexity, bosses, fun, exploration, all of those things were just on point for me. So that's why I'm going to put it there. What about you?
Okay. I mean, again, part of me really wants me to put in the S slot, but like the one thing I really don't like is like plates and standing and doing nothing. I'd say Oryx is different than that because you had a lot of jobs to take on by standing on plates, but like at least for totems and I guess mainly just totems. It definitely hurt the vibe for me a lot. I definitely would give it an A though, for sure.
Nah, I hear you.
I think that's where I'm going to put it.
But if you had to choose between Vault or King's Fall, which one would you choose?
I would probably have to put King's Fall in front.
Okay, gotcha.
Just because War Priest and Golgoroth were two of the best.
Yeah, and Golgoroth I feel like bosses. Still is one of the best ones ever when completed normally, in my opinion.
Yeah.
All right. So then lastly, I guess let's close off Destiny 1 then with the bang. So last we have Wrath the Machine. Do you want to kind of talk about what you think about this raid and maybe what you like about it?
Well, I mean, for what Rise of Iron was, kind of like a last-minute DLC, I definitely think they nailed this raid on the head. This is another fan favorite for sure. For me personally, the biggest part about it was the siege engine encounter.
Oh, I love it so much.
The biggest rush ever while like repairing a giant machine on a top of a wall. Dude, it's just like a big badass moment.
And the music too. The music was so good. It was perfect the whole raid, but I love it so much in the siege engine encounter too.
Absolutely, dude. So mostly because of the fact that Axis makes you move around. Again, you have the baby steps encounter before it teaches you how to use the cannons and stuff. There's just so much going on with Axis and Siege Engine and Vosik. It's a very aggressive raid, which is the way I like to play the game personally.
Agreed, yeah. Very fast.
Very aggressive style, shooting a lot of stuff. I'm going to put this in the S slot because I really don't see any downsides to the raid. Honestly, there isn't anything I don't like about it.
Yeah, no, and I'm with you on that too, where I think this was by far Destiny 1's fastest paced raid. I think the only raid that people ever compare this one to is Scourge, which we can talk about when we get later into Destiny 2, but just in terms of pace. But I did really appreciate the pace. I enjoyed the whole Vosik Part 1, Part 2 thing with the opening. I thought the opening was clever to be slamming all of the orbs and then actually throwing them at Vosik. I thought was really cool. And then that kind of that kind of set the pace for, if you think about it, almost the rest of the raid. We would continue to throw them on Vosik Part 2. I like the level of communication that went into having to say, all right, we have monitors, let's shoot these monitors, let's go into these safe rooms, coordinate on where we're going to safe rooms. Moving on to Siege Engine, we both just talked about how much we love that. I love the level of just the rush that you get from needing to complete Siege Engine faster. The screen goes white and you get wiped. I mean, I really like that. And then the whole set the pace on Axis Phase 1, the showing what you really are going to be doing in terms of grabbing Scorch Cannons, blowing up servitors, going all over the room, and kind of setting that standard for Phase 2. I really liked it. I had no problems with Wrath the Machine. See, this one's tough for me too, because Wrath is another amazing raid. I don't know if I know that at least for me personally, I King's Fall and Vault of Glass over it. But I know it's a really great raid. For now, I'm going to put in the A slot, and we'll see how I'm thinking later. But for now, I think that's where I'm going to put it. And another thing that I do want to say as well, I think that it had one of the most clever and most complex exotic quests ever. Up at that point with Outbreak was another thing too. Yeah, the hype that came with Outbreak too was unreal. Being able to solve all of that as a community, and then when that dropped, like I just feel like the whole Destiny community just stopped, and everybody was literally turned their attention to getting that done. I thought it was really, really cool. So overall, Wrath is a really good one. It's tough for me. I don't know. I have it up at the A slot. We'll see how I'm feeling a little bit later into this. But so far, that would take us into Destiny 2, which would start off with one that's got a very cool attachment to your channel. I would say that Callos has received a lot of love on
thick boy Callos, bro.
He's been memed 1 or 2 or maybe 1,000 times on your channel. So let's let you start off with Callos, because you guys have an interesting relationship.
Me and my boy Callos go way back, you know. I don't know, man. I just like shooting him with every weapon
that exists.
Like, if for some reason it's just a staple at this point. I don't know why it's like a thing, but it's just one of those things that you just roll with, honestly.
Yeah.
Okay, so going to the raid itself, honestly, if I had to go through the different encounters, Gauntlet, Dogs, Pools. Pools is another plate encounter. It's nothing too special going on there, but Dogs, I thought that was absolutely phenomenal, where you have two seekers and like 4 hunters on the ground trying not to get caught. I thought it was a really cool concept.
Yeah.
I mean, other than that, I don't really know what else to say about Dogs. And then Gauntlet, it was cool the first couple of times, but then it's one of those things that gets like really repetitive.
Yeah,
and
it does.
But then Callos, I thought Callos is a pretty standard boss, to be honest. You go through, you do the phase, you stand on a plate, you do DPS, and that's
pretty much it
for Callos.
What'd you think about Bathers? I know that's another kind of plate encounter, and I know usually you have reservations about those, and some people have sometimes compared Bathers to kind of the same thing with Oryx, where at the beginning with totems, where you're just kind of going back and forth between plates, going to the middle, going to the other side, taking out a bather, kind of rinse and repeat until you shoot. At least you do shoot the bells though in this one, so I guess that did add.
I was
extra.
Gonna say that's the one plus one as that I would give it is the lanterns, or whatever you want to call them.
The bells, lanterns, whatever. Yeah, the things we shoot that are purple.
Other than that, it's just your typical plate encounter. There's nothing really going on there. Nothing too special. So
yeah. And I mean, I think with the Callos encounter, the one thing that I did like was just the whole idea of separating half of the fire team from the other half, and having to relay communication on all of the different symbols to know which one you're going to punch based on what wasn't called, which was something also similar to, I guess, the whole concept of Gauntlet too. Yeah. Of kind of, here's the 2 call outs, now do whatever we didn't just call out. which was once again kind of reminiscent on what was already kind of touched on in Destiny 1. So that was the one cool thing that I did like about it. Other than that, I had the same reservations as you with Gauntlet. I feel like sometimes it feels like it's unnecessarily dragged out. Dogs I feel like is really cool, and I think on Prestige adding 8 dogs even makes that encounter even harder, which is why I feel like a lot of people don't do it as much. But overall, I like Callos, I like Leviathan. It's just one of those things where it was really the first raid where we only had one legitimate boss. And what did you think about that?
One legitimate what?
Boss. Like, it wasn't like we had like a war priest and then like, you know, Golgoroth and Sisters and Oryx. It was really just Callos and his playthings.
At the time, it was cool because we were new to the game, didn't really know what to expect. But like, looking back on it, it's obviously not my favorite.
Yeah.
Callos is my boy, though, obviously.
Oh, I know he's your boy.
Again, going back to like Gauntlet and stuff, it's not my favorite thing in the world. So
where would you put it, you think, if we had to put the Callos himself?
I'm pretty certain I'm going straight into the C slot.
Yeah, that's also where I'm going as well.
Like Gauntlet and Bads.
Yeah, so. C for Callos. I'm gonna put him there too. It's no hard feelings, but it's just one of those things where I think it was just because of everything that I had expected in Destiny 1 that it was a little bit of a letdown. For me, just because of what we had just came off Wrath of the Machine, which you just said you love so much, and I think it definitely was a drop off from Wrath. So now let's get into, I think what we're both gonna agree is probably maybe the worst raid to have come into Destiny.
What do we even say about this one, dude? Is there much to say?
So there isn't much to say, but I think the reason why is because it came out also in one of the worst eras of Destiny 2 as well, with Curse of Osiris, which I'm sure we could bash on Curse as well forever. But overall, I think the worst part about this raid was that we didn't really know what to expect with raid layers. We didn't really know what that concept meant. And the raid just overall felt very, very short. Some quick positives that I can touch on is that I thought that it was cool, the Argos Phase 1 of kind of introducing that whole system of getting the craniums and shooting those and kind of learning how that process works before you actually kill Argos. I'd say a negative was that first real encounter where all you're doing is killing ads, and then you kill the ads and they're all dead and you're like, that's it. I feel like was a very, it was just a letdown. It was a letdown, just like the whole DLC. Overall, anything else to add on it than what I covered? I feel like there's not much to this one.
Again, another beginning that's just repetitive and boring. It's not really engaging to the user at all. The hidden chest was kind of cool.
That's true.
Argos as a boss himself is a decent concept.
Yeah.
I can't really bash on them for that, but like, I don't know. Obviously, like you said, the game was in a rough spot at the time.
Yeah.
And it was good for the devs to have a play space that they could reuse other than having to make an entirely new space for a raid. So I think that allowed for them to actually make these raid layers possible. I'm
Agreed.
not 100% sure on that.
Yeah, no, I hear you on that. Yeah.
I guess it's better to have something than nothing, but like I could definitely do without the first like 70% of the raid.
I hear you. And then just jump right into the, I guess, Phase 1 Argos and then just finish it up if we just could start there. I hear that.
Pretty much.
Well, let's not beat a dead horse. Are we putting this in the F slot?
Yeah.
It's there for me.
Yeah.
It's there for me. It's at least a couple steps down for me than the others. At least personally.
Like, I want to like it, but at the same time, man, it was a
rough part for Destiny. We all like to just forget Curse of Osiris existed, so let's just forget about it. So now let's transition to Spire Stars, and I want to just preface this with a couple quick things before we do get started. First thing, Warmind was a glorious time, I think, for both of us. We both really enjoyed this era a lot. Whole lot of spec. The comeback is what I think. It's really underrated and slept on how great I feel like Warmind was for Destiny in general. It's where we became friends. It's where we got to do a lot of theorizing. And I think we'll always have a special place in our heart for A, pyramids, but B, Warmind in general. But let's get into this raid. And another quick thing I just wanted to touch on too. This happened to be your very first official raid, like the main raid, World's First, right?
Yeah.
So let's talk about that real quick. Let's just go into that just a little bit on your whole experience for Spire Stars, and also kind of what you think of it as well.
Well, dude, I literally had just got done with college, and then the DLC started the next day, and it was, I don't know, like, the grind continued. It was nice to be back into a grind again, to actually be hyped for a DLC and a raid.
Yeah.
Going into Spire, didn't really know what to expect, but by the time you get to the boss room, you really realize that there was a big light check, and it was not free.
Yeah, agreed.
The ads were doing a lot of damage. You had the old weapon system, so you had double primary and then whatever was in your heavy slot.
Yeah.
It was really rough, man. You had to play really passive because if you got hit by those rockets by Valkor,
you're dead. Dead.
Yeah.
Dead. Yeah, the very first time
having to manage. Go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say the very first time we did it, we had to have bubbles everywhere and shoot war clips so we wouldn't get obliterated. That's all I was gonna say.
Yep. I don't know, man. It was really cool because you were damage checked and you had to optimize your damage to even be able to kill him. Honestly, we barely killed him in 3 phases.
Yeah, that's
getting heavy and trying to spam rockets at him, man. It was nuts.
So, how did it feel when you found out your World's First in that raid? That's not something everybody gets to feel. So, how was that first official one? How did that feel?
I don't even know, man. Like, I was just hyped that we finished the raid, dude. Like, the situation that we were in, one of our guys had disconnected, so we brought another guy in, and it was like, obviously those races are super stressful, but the boss himself, Valkor, great boss, very engaging when you're having balls fly around the room. You're passing left and right, trying to not die from greed.
Yeah, the greed was a cool thing to add in as well.
I don't know, man. Like, this is definitely one of my favorite raids, especially the fact that it's a raid layer. If this could have been a full-size raid,
it would have been unreal.
That would have been nuts.
Oh, it would have been unreal. Yeah.
Yeah.
So where are you thinking you might place this one? If you had to put Valkor on any tier, where do you think you'd put it?
Solely because of the boss, because I guess that's like the meat and potatoes of the raid. There really isn't much else there. I'd put it in the A slot because I think the boss is well done. There's not any issues with it.
Yeah, and so with me personally too, I agree with almost with everything you said. I think another thing that I would like to bring just a quick second of light too also was the first encounter too. I really like the idea of throwing the balls around in a circle, raising the plates, and then learning about greed at the beginning, and then kind of seeing that it's a reoccurring thing as you go on. I thought the first part of the encounter was really cool. I also like the phase 1 part of Val as well, where you were going into space and throwing balls at the ships as well. I thought that was really cool, and I thought that it was it was that set the standard for that next encounter too. And there were a lot of layers to that boss fight, and a lot of communication that did have to go into it. So for now, I think that only because, and this is only because it's a raid layer. So this is the only reason why, because this is one of my favorite raids as well. We just talked about how much we like Warmind. Just because it is only one boss, just because I do wish there was more to it. I'm not saying I'm complaining that there wasn't more, because I understand that this is how they were able to bring us a raid. I think that I'm going to put it in the B slot, but knowing that if there was more to this raid, I think it could have been sky's the limit for it. I love this raid.
Honestly,
it's one of my favorites still.
I think I'm gonna move mine down to the B slot too. I was just thinking about that. Like,
yeah,
this is a hell of a raid, but again, they're really, it is a raid layer, but there's not, like, I don't know.
That's the only reason why. Exactly. Yeah. It was much better than Argos, though. I think we can agree with that.
Yeah. Oh.
All right, and so I don't want to have you kick off 2 times in a row, but I'm gonna have to, because this is another one where second World's First in terms of main raid. I know this was the 3rd one total, but a lot of people were watching this raid race. This was one, I'd say, the most memorable and one of the most popular ones ever. And I do just want to hear also a little bit of what you think about Last Wish. Another huge one, and another late congratulations on you getting World's First on this one too. This was a crazy one to watch. So what'd you think about Last Wish?
I don't know, man. That's definitely like a first raiding experience I'll never forget.
Yeah.
Like I don't really forget the rest of them, regardless of whether it's world first or not, just because that's like it's always a first impression, you know.
Yeah.
Like, now we have Riven Cheese, stuff like that. That's jumping way ahead. That like I don't know, that kind of killed the hype for me. But
Yeah.
this raid as a whole, like in terms of difficulty, again, it was the light check. It was a whole new system that you had to learn before going into the raid. We had 10 days to prep.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, it was a
So-
phenomenal raid. Starting at Cali, even again, seriously, major light check at the very beginning. The hiding in the doors mechanic was absolutely.
I liked it a lot.
Super cool because it kind of reminded me of Vosic, right?
Safe
Where you
rooms,
had
but
those
only
safe
for
rooms on
one
the
person.
side.
Yeah, exactly. It was a nice change.
And then you kind of had like another, well, I don't know what to call him, like witch lady on Shadowkeep, playing
Yeah.
bingo and going up the tower, escalating. It was super cool. Having to combine DPS with puzzle solving. It's a phenomenal encounter.
Yeah.
It can be kind of long and tedious going,
Especially
back
if you
multiple
wipe.
times,
Yeah,
but
if you wipe it towards the end, it does suck starting over. And
it's a
then,
big pain for sure.
and then what about Big Boy Morgoth?
Morgoth, I don't really have too much to say about him, honestly. He's kind of a marshmallow dude. Like you learn how to use the relic there. If you didn't learn how to use it in Shirochi, it kind of forces you to do that at least the first time through.
To cleanse for
which is
somebody.
kind of cool.
Yeah.
Other than that, like I said, he just falls over. He doesn't have much health.
So then let's go to Volt, because this is one of my favorite encounters of just Destiny in general. What'd you think about Volt?
Oh man.
I know. Well, let's talk about it at the very first time you did it, before it got slower, where it feels like you're doing a lot of standing around and waiting.
It was the main reason it was hard for us, for those who don't know. I was in Vault for 7 hours before we finally completed it. 7 hours.
It's a long
of
time.
one encounter, and it was like the one thing we were missing is the attention to detail with the buffs that you were getting, because we had never seen anything like that before. Like
Never.
A variety of different buffs that you would have to try and figure out.
Yeah.
But at least first time through, stuff was still hard to kill, and just trying to figure out that puzzle on top of that was a huge brain buster. And I don't know, man. Like doing it the first couple of times was cool.
Yeah.
And then after that, it turns into one of those encounters that's like repetitive, kind of like Gauntlet.
Yeah.
Takes a long time, so.
So cool on the first one, maybe a little repetitive at the later stages, where maybe it would have been cool if you could speed it up somehow.
Absolutely.
All right, then let's go to the last. Also a meme of the community because of cluster bombs when that came. But let's talk about Riven real quick. The original Riven, the way it was intended to be.
The original Riven, probably in my opinion the best boss fight that they've ever created, because again, it's just I love having multiple layers of bosses that you have to put together with the relic, the symbols, the person guiding you, the remembering the eyes, the trading the boss back and forth, the ad clear, the everything. It was so intense. And not to mention towards the end, when you finally got that health bar down, you're sent into the realm. It was like a pre-final stand to the pre-final stand.
Yeah.
So you go back in, you finally finish her off, and then again you have to go take down her heart. It was like almost like a triple final stand. It was just the most intense thing ever
It was.
that I've experienced in terms of rating.
And then finding out that it's not even the end had to be had to be super demoralizing.
It was shocking, but it was cool at the same time.
It was,
dude, 'cause you're
yeah.
always left with that feeling when you first finish a raid that you want more. Mm-hmm. But in this case,
there was more. Yeah.
So
what'd you think of that final hard encounter too? Before we rank it.
Again, just the attention to detail with like the hands on the side of the ball when you're inside the realm. It's just, I don't know. The whole concept, super cool. I don't really see any issues with it, man. Like, very well constructed encounter, and I think it's very, very engaging in terms of callouts and like ad clear and stuff like that.
Yeah, no, overall, I agree. Everything that you touched on, I agree with. And I also, just some extra touch points to add that we didn't add with Callos too, but I did like the whole idea of the Wish Room, as well as Underbelly that got introduced with Callos as well. Being able to teleport to different encounters, I think, was also a very cool thing to add in, a nice touch for later, so you didn't always have to do everything. Other than that, I think you hit every single touch point. So after all of that, where do you think you put Last Wish? I already know where you're gonna put it because this one's your baby. This one's your baby, but where are you gonna put it?
Some people are gonna call me biased, but I don't care. Like, dude, there's no denying that this raid was not very well constructed, and the bosses are absolutely phenomenal. The only one I'm like not the biggest fan of, obviously, is Morgoth, because like, I don't know, it's kind of simplistic, but at the same time, you cannot complain because you have so many other encounters that are filling this raid.
Yeah, no, agreed. So is it an S?
Oh, definitely. Already put it up there.
Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and throw in the S too. Definitely agree with all the encounters. Like you said, every boss was great. I did wish that Morgoth was a little bit more on the complexity of Golgoroth, because I think that was a way more complex ogre encounter. But other than that,
would be super cool.
Yeah, other than that though, everything, like you said, was a great experience, and I also loved Last Wish a lot. It's up there in my top 3, so I also put in the S slot. So let's go ahead and wrap things up then with our last 2 raids. We have Scourge the Past next, another raid layer-esque type raid. Came out with Black Armory. I'll start off with this one. I really did enjoy this raid for the same reasons that I feel like I enjoyed Wrath of the Machine. I think the biggest thing I can touch on is pace. The pace that I feel like you get going from the beginning. I feel like I also like the idea of introducing a raid where you're in a city at the beginning, skyscrapers everywhere, this feeling of verticality, good lord, and being able to just like really go into the depths of the city, but also be on that top level as well. The whole map reading concept was really cool, and introducing that early and then implementing that at the end as well, I thought was cool. I love being able to sparrow through the sewer systems. I love the Sparrow Racing encounter. I think it's the closest thing we're going to get to SRL for a while. I'm a diehard SRL, so definitely a nice, fun thing for me. I really enjoyed that. I love being able to... I feel like it's the first raid that also took into account some of the, let's just say, forgotten aspects of Destiny. And what I mean by that, I mean like sparrows and vehicles. So I don't think we ever had sparrows as any type of... It was just never a factor in any of the raids. So being able to sparrow around and being able to tank around, I thought was really cool. I thought that Insurrection Prime was a pretty decent boss. I like that he was pretty mobile. I think he's one of the few mobile final bosses. I think Oryx was... I mean, Oryx would move from plate to plate each time you go around in a cycle, but he wasn't really moving. Neither... Atheon was kind of moving, but he wasn't really moving. He was in the same area. Crota would move. Crota moved a lot. So Crota was one of those exceptions. But, he crotated. But, Callos just sat on his perch, stood up, sat down. He was pretty lazy. Most of the bosses didn't move. So I did like that he moved. I liked the idea of needing to shoot his crits. I liked the idea of telling people where to go on the map and directing people all over the place. I thought it was all really cool. I thought it was fast. Other than that, overall, just thought it was a pretty decent raid. Did you have anything to add on it?
I mean, you pretty much nailed it right on the head. Good first use of sparrows in raid. It was a great use of tanks, which were previously really not used in the game at all, other than in campaign missions where you use them like once or twice, maybe.
Yeah.
Other than that, man, you pretty much nailed it right on the head.
All right. So then I think all we gotta do then is rank it, and I think I'm gonna go ahead and also throw it in the B slot. The reason why is because I think it had a little bit more to it than Callos and Kuroda, but then I also wish that it had a little bit more if I was going to put it up with something in the likes of like Wrath of the Machine. Wrath of the Machine, we had 2 phases of Vossic, we had Siege Engine, and then 2 phases of Axis, where this one, I feel like we really only did have the Insurrection Prime Phase 1 and Phase 2. Other than that, there was a lot of fun stuff going on, but it still didn't have the same meat that I think that Wrath of the Machine have. So I can't personally, in good faith, put it in the A slot, but I think it was a B. It wasn't bad. I didn't think it was awful. I thought it was pretty cool to come with the Annual Pass. Wasn't sure what we were going to be getting with the Annual Pass, so I think to get a raid at this caliber, I was pretty satisfied with what we got.
For sure.
So what are you thinking?
I threw a raid in the B slot as well, man. Again, it's a good raid, but it's not like it's not one of those ones that's like Hell yeah, I love this raid.
Yeah, it's just like, it's just a good raid.
It's a good raid.
Agreed. And it's the only raid exotic I don't have still, by the way. Good lord. I just wish it would drop. It still hasn't dropped. But that's besides the point. Alright. So the final one that we have then, I'll let you kick us off on the final one. But Crown of Sorrows, let's talk a little bit about that raid and then maybe just a tiny little bit about the challenge mode too. And we'll wrap it up on our list.
Are you talking about contest?
Oh, challenge. Right? Good lord.
Yeah,
Doubles. Wrong C word. I'm sorry. Kuroda, Callos, contest, challenge. Yeah.
It's all good.
Contest mode, Crown of Sorrows.
It was, I mean, contest is a great thing. For those who don't know, it's a mode that's usually only used for the first 24 hours of the raid. This is to make synthetic difficulty almost. That way there's an even playing field for World's First, and it makes it more challenging when you're going for the 24-hour emblem. This is the first we've seen that. It sounds like it's going to be coming back.
It does.
The what's the new raid called again?
The Garden of Salvation.
Yes, coming out October 5th.
Let's go.
Anyways, Crown of Sorrow itself is a raid at the beginning. At first, it was really cool to learn how to do the swapping buff and stuff, but looking back at the first encounter, again, another really long encounter. Going forward, everything else is pretty solid. I really like the jumping puzzle with having to shoot the crystals and having to balance those buffs again.
I wish they would have made it where there was a hard wipe, though. I wish it was respawn restricted.
Yeah.
I think that would have been cool.
Yeah. I mean, checkpoints are all right, but I kind of want to lean towards a full wipe too. That'd be interesting.
Yeah.
And then going into the boss room, you have the phase 1, which is Galron's Deception. Another big DPS check, at least for first raid, challenge mode or contest.
Yep, that's not me. I'm so sorry. There's challenge modes and raids, but we're not going to talk about those today. But contest mode, my bad.
The having to split into 2-2-2 was another interesting concept because usually it's a 3-3 split. That we have been seeing in previous raids.
Yeah,
at least intended, anyways. I thought it was a cool way to make 3 different teams communicate while being able to juggle different aspects. And it was random where the things did spawn too, so you had to learn all the different jobs if you did wipe multiple times.
Yeah.
So I thought that was kind of cool.
Yeah, and then so
for sure.
What about the final boss fight too? What'd you think about that?
Mr. Galron
himself.
The 3-split boss thing, I thought it was pretty cool. First initial thoughts is I thought we were going to have to damage 3 different bosses.
Wouldn't that have been crazy?
Dude, that would have been nuts.
I know.
But I don't know, man. The boss itself, especially at first, again, very challenging, of course. Having to juggle the crystals, the buff, shoot the hands, slap chop the smaller guy.
Slap chop.
Yeah, I don't really know what to say, man. I thought it was solid for sure. Again, this was technically a full raid, right?
Technically a full raid, yeah.
Yeah.
But once again, like you said, at least what we were talking about before, only one real boss though. Mm-hmm. So
I mean, some people would technically count the deception, but I don't know, man. I don't know if I really count that.
Yeah, no, I hear you.
It's like a real boss.
So overall, positive experience.
Definitely, other than the first encounter.
Yeah. So the
fest, but
agreed. Yeah, and I think everything you touched on is exactly how I'm feeling as well. Just really the biggest thing for me that I did enjoy going off what you said was the 2-2-2. That was my favorite part. Mm-hmm. Having a teammate transmitting the buffs back and forth, I thought was really cool, and needing both people to break a crystal, I thought was really cool. Other than that, you touched on everything. For the most part, I like the split on the phase 1 of the room and making you have to pass the buffs between parts of the room. I thought was really cool. Yeah, overall, really, really positive raid. I did like how they just kind of set up the crystal encounter at the beginning, and then you saw that at the end. I thought it was pretty fluid. I did wish there would be a little bit more from a raid, maybe. But overall, I still a positive experience. I still enjoyed it for the most part. So
Yeah.
where do you think you'd put Crown of Sorrows, the last raid in Destiny 2, for now?
I think I'm gonna throw it in the C slot.
Oh,
Just because of the first encounter. Otherwise, it definitely would be in the B slot because you spend half your time in the raid. I feel like in that first encounter, just because there are 4 waves.
Oh man, this one's tough for me. I'm not sure. I see. I feel like I have it right. I feel like for different reasons I enjoyed. Oh man, this one's tough for me because I'm gonna throw it in the B slot for now, only because I'm not sure which one I enjoy more between Scourge the Past and Crown. They're really neck and neck for me right there for different reasons. So for now, I'll put it in the B because overall, I thought it was another good raid. I wish that there was maybe a little bit more to it, but overall, for the reasons that I mentioned in the teamwork aspect, that I think it did make you draw from not only your teammates, but then sometimes from other groups of two too, when you needed somebody else to pass you a buff from maybe across the room, and all the other different stuff that did come with it. I think that for now, I'll put it in the B slot. For now, and maybe if I change my mind later, we'll see. But I think I'm gonna go ahead and hold my spots for now. So what does that mean? What'd you end up with? What's your ranks from top to bottom?
You want me to list them all off?
Rack them off.
All right, so we're going to start at the top. We got Last Wish, Wrath of the Machine, King's Fall, Vault of Glass, Kuroda, Spire, Scourge of the Past, Leviathan, Crown of Sorrow, and Eater of Worlds.
And then for me, I get King's Fall, Vault, Last Wish, only Vault of Glass over for nostalgia. Hate me, I'm sorry guys. It's the D1 in me. Sue me. Wrath of the Machine, Spire Stars, Scourge the Past, Crown of Sorrow, Kuroda's End, Big Boy Callos, and then I don't think there's a raid after that. Okay, Eater of Worlds. I don't want to disrespect it like that. But overall, we did it. I'm super excited for the future too, guys. Garden of Salvation coming in October. I'm sure you're super excited for that. I'm super excited for that. Guys, one big...
Black Garden, dude.
We're going back. It's super exciting. Guys, if you guys did enjoy this, let us know in the comments. I really did enjoy this experience with Sweat, mainly because, not only just because we're friends and we like to talk about Destiny, but also because you know me, I'm mainly on the more console side of things and I'm a potato. And then Sweat's up there at the top. So I feel like this is a very partisan or bipartisan really opinion that you get from both sides of the spectrum. So it's not really just a one PC player saying a bunch of stuff or one console player saying a bunch of stuff, really being able to get both sides and being able to draw some common ground. So I did really enjoy this experience. So thank you again, Sweat, for this.
Absolutely, dude.
Yeah, and if you guys are interested in more stuff like this, whether it is maybe us revisiting this, let's say, next around September when we have Garden of Salvation and maybe some other raids within the new annual pass. I'm sure, Sweat, we'd love to do this again, probably.
Oh, absolutely, dude.
Yep.
I'm always down to talk about raids. I love raids.
Yep. And we love to talk. So if there's ever any other ideas you guys have, any other types of podcast things, let us know because it's very easy to go on and on, as you guys can see. So thank you guys again. Let us know your ranks in the comment box below. And make sure you guys sub to Sweatcicle's channel, please, guys. It would really mean the world to me. I really appreciate you again, bro. Thank you.
Absolutely.
All right. You guys have a good rest of the day, and we'll talk to you guys in the next Destiny video. Thanks, girl. Love you.
Peace.
Sweat's found the newest exotic. There we go. We have Callos currently on the grill. Sweat only eats raw Callos. This isn't right. Not only does he meme them, but he cooks them too. Look at that Callos meat. Look at Callos.